Hi, this is Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart, and today is Monday, November 6th, 2017. Wanted to do a video on the cannabis stocks, marijuana sector. And right now we're seeing in the last few days, I'm starting to see, or last few trading sessions, last week or so, I'm starting to see some momentum building in the sector, which in itself is important. And the reason for that is this sector, among just about everything out there is very, very much a momentum driven sector. In other words, there were times back in 2016, and we were engaging these stocks on the long side on the two major rips. We had a rally early 2016, and we had a big rally leading into the U.S. presidential elections back in November of last year. That was a buy the rumor, sell the news. You had quite a few states, several states, putting on the ballot to vote. To approve marijuana either recreationally or medically or both. And so that most of those stocks sold off after that. This one I'm looking at here, CBIS, Cannabis Science, happened to have another thrust up. But again, a lot of those stocks peaked back then. And along the way, there has been rallies, uh, during the correction, which is typical in just about any stock. But what I look for is broad-based participation, not any one stock breaking out or rallying. I look for the majority of stocks. Now, I have a watch list I've been building over the last few years, and it's now up to 53 stocks. Now, these are individual cannabis stocks. Some will have the same symbol, might trade on the one of the Toronto or Canadian exchanges as well as the U.S. exchanges. So there's a little bit of overlap there, but for the most part, we're talking probably better than 40 individual cannabis stocks here. So let's take a look at these. I don't probably won't have time to go through each and every one in this video since there's so many. And if that's the case, I'll break it down into two or more videos. All right, I'll fly through these. I'm not going to sit here and talk about the risk on this today, but I'll just say anything trading under $1, $5 a share, just about anything in this fledgling industry should be considered very, very aggressive um, and or speculative. So with that being said, if you're not sure what you're doing, maybe stand aside or you look at trade one of the ETFs. There's a couple out there, at least one that trades on both the Toronto Exchange and the U.S. Exchange, and I'll get to that in these in my watch list. CBIS, let's just talk levels now. Downtrend line. You can see this most recent downtrend line, fairly well defined. Popped above it today, but it ran into this resistance level. Of course, any horizontal lines on my charts are resistance if above current prices or at current prices, and support if below. Some of these lines and charts I haven't updated, and I'll try to make mention. If you have any questions on this, if you're a member of the site, drop me a line in the trading room, and I'll be more than glad to clean the chart up or give you my, expand on my thoughts and some price targets, whether you're swing trading or long-term investing, trend trading. So either way, this one I'm watching for now, a break of that roughly 41, 42 cent level, or actually I should say 4.2, 4.15% level. So it's just over 4 cents a share. You can see that's a pretty significant resistance level. You can see all these lines here, all these reactions. Let's move that line up a little. So we'll call it 4.25 or so. And then you can see the additional price targets here. And again, it all depends on this sector really gaining some traction here. If this is just a brief stepping in, maybe a bear market rally in the cannabis stocks, then it may be faded at any time. Maybe, maybe not. That's why I'm giving you these levels. Trade them as you want. Every now, once in a blue moon, I'll put one up as an official trade idea, but usually the more established companies. So there's CBIS with some levels to watch. And again, that would be your next objective buy on a break at that level. And these are your targets up there. CANN, General Cannabis Corp, setting up this price channel right here. Prices are currently challenging that. Actually, you know what? I need to tighten that line up a little bit. So we've actually broken out. If we look at it, it's broken out. Here's your first target. I should have that value up for you, about 143. And these are additional potential targets there. It's already at support or just hit support recently about $1.12, $1.13, somewhere in that area. You can see that support line. So, if you're going along this one or plan to maybe stop under that level and maybe on a closing basis. The one thing about these stocks is they swing so much day to day. This one's up almost 20% today. that you have these momentum fueled overshoots of support and resistance. So if you're identifying a level like I have here at point, $1 point, dollar 12, almost a dollar 13, you may want to give it a little bit of room because it's normal to see the support levels get taken out briefly. All right, CANN, this is PHOT. I don't see a lot there. We're talking about CVSI. Here's a support level. It overshot, a big overshoot, as you can see, and it snapped back above it. Not one of my favorites, so I'll move on. TWMJF, this is one of my favorites. Um, this one you can either buy if you're, US. These shares are, I think they're bulletin board or pink sheet shares with the WEEDTO on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So this is because, as I said, most of these are Canadian companies. So you'll have the shares listed on one of the Canadian exchanges, either the Toronto Stock Exchange or the Canadian Venture Exchange, um, or some other Canadian exchanges, and um, and then you'll often have some shares listed on the U.S. exchanges or trading on the over-the-counter markets. TWMJF, Canopy Growth again. What I like about it, this is one of the few on my watch list, and this is a pretty much a pure play that has actually made it to new all-time highs. This one has taken out the previous reaction high, which occurred right up leading up into the elections. Just after that, it peaked. And so now you have a stock at not just a new 52-week high, but a new all-time high, very bullish. Whereas a lot of these other stocks are down towards, maybe just coming off their 52-week lows. I talked about this a year ago and even before then, how this is a fledgling industry, tremendous amount of potential. However, this is the period, and it will continue for a while, and it has been, where the market will separate the wheat from the chaff. The good companies with a sound business model, long-term prospects look good. The market will sooner or later start to sniff those out, and I think that's been the case here. You can see a clear uptrend since the stock peaked after the big post-election sell-off. It's been moving up, and it's now broken out to new highs, and here as well on the Canadian shares. And all other things being equal, would probably want to look at the Canadian shares. They take more volume. These are Canadian companies, so and this one being listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange gives a little more credibility than those on the Venture Exchange or any of the ones traded on the bulletin board, pink sheets, anything like that. Those companies have usually sketchy fundamentals. So anyway, looks good. And in this video, you're going to see two things. You're going to see stocks that might look objective because in this case it is breaking out to new all-time highs. You're also going to see bottoming plays as stocks come down to resistance. I'm sorry, down to support, or maybe they've corrected and now they're taking out downtrend lines like this one did all the way back here. That was a buy signal back then, came up, hit resistance. A lot of these lines I have not modified in a while. Um, some I have, some I haven't. As time goes on, I'll continue to update these charts and modify them. But you can see this one, it plays out well to the technicals. And what I'm referring to, just look at where all the reactions occurred at these lines, and you can see these lines or this resistance zone. That's not random. It's these previous reaction highs that we had here. As was this one here. You had a lot of reactions there, and then boom, when ran up, kissed that level, and we pulled back. And it might not look like much, but those are big percentage drops and rallies, because I'm using log scaling. And, you're looking at a stock that was down here about $2.50, and now it's $18.67. So that one looks good, breaking out to new highs. ACBFF, one of my favorites, one of my long-term holds, as was, TWMJF. This one looks really nice, but it has a little work to be done yet. We've been basing. We had the big run up. We started trading this one back here at 55 cents. Had some swing trading ops. It was a long-term trade, but the story is, since the big run up into the elections, this one has been trading sideways in this large range, and the next powerful buy signal will come on a definitive and an impulsive, convincing breakout above this range. Likewise, if things get ugly, it would be bearish to see it drop below the range, especially anything more than a brief break down below that 142 level. But this one's now testing the top of that range. And if you look at where the candles are, we've taken out this previous reaction low right here as of today. Not by much so far, relatively speaking. Again, you don't talk, it's not like, SPY or anything where you break out. And if you take out a resistance level by a percent or more, that's considered a breakout. This stock can move easily double digits in any given day. So you want to see a little more follow through, and then there's that previous reaction high back here. But anyways, I still like that one. We had this wedge type pattern. It broke down, but it found support here, that 215 level. Um, and so far that's bullish. It regained that trend line. Down here, I note that the PPO, the trend is still bullish. You can see these back tests of that zero line, the dotted line between there. So the trend indicator flipped bullish right here, and it's remained bullish since. So that's ACBFF. CYNE. Here's a biotech company. Everything's on the chart. You can see it. And the divergent high here broke down. This one's sort of in no man's land. No man's land meaning it's between support. We have support here about 840, and it's in this big gap area, but actually it's going to look at this previous reaction high as a significant level. So right around 1134, right about where the stock stalled today, that's resistance. If it can take that out, especially on a closing basis, we'll probably want to backfill that gap. And that alone, it might not look like much, but it's a pretty decent move if that happens. That's about 17%. And then next resistance or target up here about 1643. CMED .to, TO again meaning trades on the Toronto Exchange. Well, here's a stock. Not a lot of trading history. This one looks like it just started trading at the end of 2016, but it just powered on, took out the previous highs, and that's a breakout right there. You can see these two reaction highs, reaction high, actually a third reaction high there where it failed, and a breakout today. That's bullish. So if it can continue to build on that, and this breakout holds, we don't see a false breakout, a move back down, and a close back below that in the next couple of days, that one's bullish. Price targets, I'd have to throw up some Fibonacci projections. The stock is at an all-time high now. Therefore, there's no overhead resistance levels. So trying to project price targets, you can look at you can take if there's a chart pattern to use a measurement projection, or you can use Fibonacci projections, things like that. Or just let it ride. If you're in this for the long run, you get a position, set your stops appropriately somewhere a little bit below those lows in case that breakout fails, and uh, and let it ride. The potential's enormous in a lot of these stocks, and I would recommend to do your own due diligence from a fundamental perspective as well, especially if you plan to hold these as investments or trend trades versus just trying to swing trade them and playing the breakouts. XXII, 22nd Century Group Inc. It's another biotech. This one looks interesting here. What pops out at me? A few things here on the chart. Let me grab a highlighting tool. Well, first of all, a potential trend line here. I say potential because there's this only the third touch. Actually, when I put this trend line in earlier today, it was right about on the trend line. Now we do have a reaction so far. So that third reaction helps to validate the trend line. So that's certainly objective level there. Like I said, you can take a breakout. On the long side, I look for either breakouts above resistance or a chart pattern or pullbacks to support, in which case you have a pullback to support. And so you can have a stop just below that, looks objective. And also note here, recently we're overbought or oversold, I'm sorry. We were oversold right here. We were last oversold here, and that resulted in a divergent low because we came back, made another near oversold reading, but you had positive divergence both on the PPO and the RSI. I should probably draw it out for you like this. Wrong tool. Either way, you can see it there. There it is. I added the line for you. And just to continue that theme, last two times before that, we were oversold. We were back here and back here. And again, it may not look like much on this chart because I'm using log scaling, but that's a 41% rally off that oversold level. This one was from trough to peak, about 140%. This one here, you can see that was about 108%. So you get the point. Big gain potential in these stocks. Very aggressive trades, but you can mitigate your losses by not taking a huge position. Take a small position. I like to spread my eggs out. Put them not all in one basket. Take a shotgun approach. Take a dozen or more of your favorite names in the sector, and some will be your big winners. Some will be losers, but it should all balance out as long as you're in the sector at the right time. And if this rally just fizzles out and the technicals fall apart and you can no longer make a bullish case, you got to pull the plug and get out. Again, swing trading and investing, two different things, but both entail, you have to have a plan, you have to have your stops. Investing, you just allow for a larger stop loss because you're targeting much higher targets. You're planning to hold some of these stocks for many months, if not years. All right, so that one looks good there, right here. EMMBF, Emblem Corp. Nice double bottom here. You had a low back here about 113, 114 or so. We just recently revisited that low, so we have a couple reactions off that level and an impulsive move up. So support held. Stock is up about 8.5% today. There's bullish divergence as well. You can see down here on both the RSI and the PPO. And I don't see a lot. Sure, there's a little bit minor resistance here about 137 or so if you want to target a quick pop. But this one has the potential, again, if this rally uh, continues to build on itself and it has some legs, this one's probably going up to at least 170, and that would be about a 34% rally from where we're at. MJNA, Medical Marijuana Inc., downtrend line breakout, a rip. Downtrend line, very well defined downtrend line breakout. And so far since the breakout, this one's ripped about 38% in just a few days. Um, I have a lot of lines on this chart. I need to move this one up a little bit, target that previous reaction high. That would certainly be my next target. Now, it took out this level today. This was a very solid target. Had I been swing trading this one with the intent to take profits soon, I would have taken here. Now, I didn't have a position in this. I may have a long-term position, but not a swing trade position. I'd have to check the numerous accounts. That one's about 10, right about 10 cents. So this was a level again that would have been it looks to me like very formidable resistance because it was very solid support. So far we've shot by it. We gapped above it and we've remained above it today. Now that's bullish. If that level holds, great. Otherwise, if this proves to be a momentum fueled overshoot because this thing was going vertical, near vertical, and that's had a lot of momentum going into that level. So just watch it in the next day or two. If it holds that level, I can tell you this would be my next target here, about 12 and a half cents, and then up here about 15 cents, and then ultimately challenge those previous highs around 21 cents. And that's a pretty big gain from a stock that's selling about half that price right now. THCBF, THC Biomed International, descending price channel breakout, very impulsive move. And this one's been in an uptrend since. An uptrend is simply defined as a stock making a series of higher highs and higher lows, which so far it's done. These are all levels. You can see here it's working well off the technicals. So I would expect, again, if this rally has any legs, and it's a little bit early to tell because as I go through the list, there's still some stocks that have yet to either hold support, they're at support now, or to break resistance. But right now it's looking pretty good, and that would be my next target here, about $1.07. Why don't we wrap it up here? We're right at the 18-minute mark. Again, I should have said it in the beginning, but if if you want to go through these videos a little faster, use the settings icon in the bottom right-hand corner, and then you can increase the playback speed anywhere as fast as 2 times speed. I like it at 1.5. Does a good job of really cutting down the duration of the video. So take advantage of that if you want. And I will follow up with the remainder in a separate video. This has been Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart. Hope you enjoyed it.